listening to Pop This, the podcast where three women talk about pop culture. Here are your hosts, Lisa Christiansen, Andrea Gin, and Andrea Warner.
So I just want to announce here that I baked something, which is kind of rare. Yeah. So I have rhubarb that grows in my backyard through no effort of mine. I don't know why this rhubarb continues to grow. I don't do anything. Is it a weed? Is it a weed?
It actually, rhubarb is really easy to grow on the West Coast. Like, it just comes back year after year. So
yeah, the advice I was given is that you pull it out. And that way it keeps coming back every year. And I've done that. And so I went and picked all the rhubarb out the back and I made a crisp, strawberry crisp. And now I can't stop eating it. And I wonder, am I the only one? Like, seriously, I think I might eat the whole thing. And what that means, by the way, is 6 cups, like 3 cups of strawberries, 3 cups of rhubarb, plus
some
half
amount
a cup
of sugar.
of butter. A cup of sugar.
Yeah.
And during the baking process, does any of that become different? Or is it still just as a cup of oatmeal, a half a cup of butter?
I think it's fine. I think it's great. I say
a half a cup of butter.
I say plow through it.
It's like fruit, and rhubarb is almost a vegetable.
Bravo. Okay. So
in my mind.
Yeah. So I'm just like calculating how much is in it. And I keep like putting it back in the fridge. I cover it up properly, put it in the fridge.
You know what, Lisa? Rhubarb season is once a year and it's so fleeting. You just got to enjoy it while it's here and go for it.
Just keep going. Just keep going.
Do it
till it's gone.
I support that entirely. I have fond memories over the last few years of getting to know the rhubarb cordial that Joe makes, and at least I think we had it at Christmas too.
Yes.
There was like some that is when rhubarb can be dragged out throughout the year in a cordial fashion, great. Take your time with that, but a crisp, that's only going to last so long.
It is really, isn't it? You
got to eat it.
And here's the thing. It just seems to be delicious when it was warm. It seems to be delicious when it's cold. It seems to be delicious with a little bit of whipped cream and ice cream on this thing. Yeah. I mean, really, I don't know why we make pies is another conversation starter.
I think a strawberry rhubarb pie, people are very fond of those as well.
Yeah, I know.
I guess the thing is a pie is so much more work intensive,
right?
Versus a crisp. That I guess Lisa's question is like, is the payoff of eating a pie that much more than
honestly
eating
a
good
crust is good.
Yeah,
like I like a good crust.
It's true.
But then so my sister bought us a half pie at like a grocery store, and I guess when you do a half pie, obviously the filling sort of starts to leak out and it really sops into the bottom. So I got this very soggy crust on this whole half pie. Didn't stop me from eating the half pie. But like every bite I took was with a fair bit of resentment, thinking of like how it could have been crispy.
Yes. You know? Yeah. See?
But
that's it.
Now
I know.
Exactly right now though is like this sweet crossover season where strawberry and rhubarb meet, and you can get fresh local strawberries and fresh local rhubarb.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. It's just like a right. Death Cab for Cutie song when soul meets body.
I know. It's like a 2-week period, and you need to just blitz, like do everything you've ever wanted to do with strawberry and rhubarb in this 2-week period.
Because strawberry and rhubarb to me, I find a tiny bit on the sweet side. I love to throw, not that I make anything, but I've had it before, where people throw in raspberries and rhubarb.
Well,
so delicious.
But maybe you've just had I do find these recipes call for an awful lot of sugar.
Yeah, I think rhubarb is not sweet at all. So
they overcompensate with strawberry and sugar. Yeah. I think I just find strawberries baked in pies just kind of grossly sweet. So I never eat a strawberry pie. And so I tend towards Oh, there's also, I really enjoy apple rhubarb together as well.
I've never had apple rhubarb. I've only ever had strawberry rhubarb,
pie.
I think.
I've had an apple rhubarb pie, and that was delicious. So I also recommend apple rhubarb crisp, I think would be really good.
Oh.
Huh.
Wow.
Interesting.
I've only ever mixed my rhubarb with strawberries. I mean, perhaps I just need to like venture out.
If you've got a bunch of rhubarb.
No, I mean, oh,
okay.
It wasn't a bumper crop.
Year.
It was just like I said, I don't know what's going on in my backyard. It just happens. I go and I yank it out, and then
next
year I will experiment. But I can buy more. I mean, rhubarb's got to be cheap right now too.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Plentiful and everywhere.
Rhubarb is so interesting to me because, like, when you get it raw and you cut it up, it's like inedible. Like it doesn't look like something or smell like something that would be delicious to eat. And you have to like cook it and add copious amounts of sugar.
Yeah.
And then it's magic.
It's amazing how someone figured that out. There was somebody once who was like, well, we've got this rule now. We have to eat everything in the yard because we don't have any other food. Let's try this.
But they just left celery alone. Like I always think of celery and rhubarb as sort of like slightly related
But like, can you make celery taste anywhere near as good as rhubarb?
No, that's the thing. Like I guess they gave up on celery. They're like, okay, finally, thank God, at least this rhubarb's good.
We gave up on celery.
We just add peanut butter and like cheese or whatever.
Yeah, I have a friend who's a paleobotanist, and one time he was talking about spices, and the way he talked about like spices was that like spices are spices because somebody just decided it was and used it on food. Like otherwise they're just plants. And that really made me think, because like you kind of take for granted that like spices, I don't know, I just never really thought that hard about spices. But he's just like, yeah, like somebody just found a plant and decided to make it into a taste, and now everybody calls it a spice.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
That's true. Yeah, that's really. I'm really thinking extra hard about those. Like, remember when it was so popular in like either the late '90s or the early 2000s to put like dandelions and everything?
Yeah. Someone was trying to make dandelions happen.
I don't think we ever got over cilantro. We're still on to that. So.
The most controversial of the
herbs.
But yeah, just that like any one of us could forage through the woods and find something edible and decide that we're using it to spice things and like just try to make it happen as a spice and invent a new spice.
We're doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just find some weird round thing and then grate it like a nutmeg or something, right? And say,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I found this bark.
I do feel like we're describing a variety of different, like, world famous Michelin starred restaurant chefs
with the truffle.
Like that's kind of like what they do, you know? Like, just thinking about like Top Chef and like this season and like the winner, and I won't spoil it for anyone, but also just the fact that it's like Padma's last season, and like it was weirdly emotional the last episode. Like even though she didn't announce it on the show, it was like very clear that she had decided it was over, and she was like, she cried, like, and she never cries. Aww. That's like not Padma. Anyway, and just like thinking about all of the different types of food that I would otherwise never have thought of as food, thanks to all the years I've watched Top Chef. Like, it's kind of wild. It's nice that you have like a paleobotanist friend.
Yeah,
Richie.
No kidding.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like he mostly you like show him a rock that you think is really beautiful and unique that you found on a beach, and he'll just be like, yeah, that's just a rock.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, but has he ever been shown sea glass that's been torched by lightning striking the same place twice?
Wow.
Look, I might be sick, but I can still segue like a demon.
Oh my
Let's
God.
do this. I'm Andrea Warner.
I'm Lisa Christiansen.
I'm Andrea. I cannot believe you did that, Gin.
and you're listening to Pop This. And if you did not get that reference, honestly, be glad you haven't watched this movie. We're talking about we're talking about Sweet Home Alabama.
Boy.
But I will say this. I think many people out there are like me and watched it early, like when it first came out, and had the impression that it was, an okay Reese Witherspoon rom-com, and then went back to revisit it now and kind of watched it in horror all the way through, wondering what kind of person I was in 2003 that enjoyed this movie without any thoughts about it.
So, in 2002, so I had never seen this film.
Oh.
And so weirdly enough, actually, I was like, I mean, it's not good, but it's certainly not the worst thing we've ever watched for wedding month.
No,
So
but
it isn't? But what is?
Yeah, it's up there.
I mean, it's up there, but it's not the worst thing we've ever watched
I
for
think
wedding
it's
month,
the
for
most
sure.
surprisingly badly aging thing we've watched.
Oh, it's certainly, I mean, you're a movie literally named for a song that celebrates the Confederacy is not going to age well. No kidding.
Yeah.
Like, we should have known, and yet here we are.
But yeah, you just kind of think like Reese Witherspoon movies, like what's there to not like?
Well, turns out quite a bit.
I mean, I will say the things that it has going for it are a pretty incredible supporting cast and occasional bon mots like this quote that I will maybe think about for the rest of my life. And it's going to be the one little swear that we've got on this episode, probably. You can't ride two horses with one ass, sugar bean. Honestly,
Who hasn't said
flawless
that before,
life advice.
right?
I think, yeah.
It always happens
This
to me
movie.
that I get lost. I forget because they hire the leads to be not Patrick Dempsey, but Josh Lucas has one of those Bradley Cooper, James Marsden smiles, and that's all I remember. So I come into the movie and I'm all, this will be good. Get Josh Lucas. And he does that smile all over the place. It's got to be good, right? And then, oh no, this is not good. Josh Lucas, I blame you. No, I don't blame. In case he's listening, I blame him. However, he gets me every time.
Yeah, to me, I was mostly surprised by, like, I don't think I ever really liked the Josh Lucas character, and I kind of just didn't really understand that whole, like, how she ends up with him at the end of the movie. But
why
like, I was
does he want to be with her?
surprised-
Do you mean, like, why in the world would anyone want to be with this
or
person?
like, anyway, but also
Both sides, honestly.
Yeah, both sides, honestly. But like, I watched it this time, and I'm like, I don't like any character in this entire movie. I'm not rooting for anybody.
I think her gay friend, I loved. I thought he was wonderful.
I'm rooting for Ethan Embry as Bobby Ray for sure.
Yeah.
And I might be rooting for Melanie Linsky as Lurlin.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, like, from supporting characters, sure, but like for the like
leads,
three main leads,
three
like
leads?
I'm not rooting for anybody.
No.
Yeah, I don't care about any of the leads, and that's a tough place to be in a
rom-com.
Rom-com.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was shocked at how dark this film was. I really was. And I'll firmly state that in a rom-com, I have never, ever seen anything as horrible as the scene in the bar when she decides to just let loose in this town. I think that goes down in history as one of the worst rom-com scenes I've ever seen.
I mean, I agree with you. I think it's interesting to decide to make the lead character in the film so unlikable. And
cruel.
Yeah. And then try to get people back on her side. And based on the reviews at the time, people really were so smitten with Reese Witherspoon and her sort of quote unquote fresh-facedness and her charm that they were quite prepared to say that this movie is not bad, because of her. You know what I mean? Like it's weird how much. Well, honestly, let's face it. It's weird how much Reese Witherspoon sort of like Reese Witherspoon's Reese Witherspoonness sort of covers. You know what I mean? Like,
yes,
yeah.
It's because this is not a good movie,
but
it doesn't make a lot of sense.
But she's got that charm that you sort of are distracted by throughout, like what her character is doing through the movie.
It strikes me as just one quick thing is that one of the problems with the movie is that it should have been over in 15 minutes, and and it could, and the fact you feel that she arrives, she says, "Sign this." For some unknown reason, which doesn't make any sense in the movie, he doesn't want to sign it right away. And basically, that's the whole movie. And so they got to find stuff to do, I guess.
Well, he doesn't want to sign it, obviously, because he doesn't want a divorce.
Yeah, but he's not going to be able to convince her. It's kind of creepy then.
Yeah, like we don't really get like there's not enough chemistry between the two of them to make their fights sexually compelling.
Yes, exactly.
Like if they had a more sort of like Sam and Diane sort of like heat to what's going on with them, like maybe that could have been, but still with that whole element of like we've been in love with each other since we were 10 or whatever. Like also I think when you start a movie with the idea that these two kids have been in love since they were 10, I always find that really gross. Like I don't find that romantic, and that's a hard sell for me. And then you get this other sort of like backstory that we get dropped into halfway through, which is that there's so much darkness that we don't, we're not sort of equipped to understand that like so much stuff has gone on between them, like this, really awful miscarriage, this like sort of this guy who doesn't want to do anything seemingly with his life except get drunk and relive his football glory days, whereas like she has these other aspirations, but she kind of got almost trapped with this pregnancy, and then she has this like horrible experience of the miscarriage, and she feels guilty for feeling free after that. Like there's complicated good stuff here to build a movie around. But this movie squanders all of it. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. They just throw it at you after when you've already made up your mind about everything. They chuck it in there. Like there was no build up. It didn't make any sense.
But we should probably go over the background
and
synopsis.
So. Yeah, fair enough. Lisa, do you want to read the background?
Sure, yeah. And if anyone hasn't already on their own, just trying to figure out what we're talking about. But yeah, Sweet Home Alabama is a 2002 American romantic comedy film directed by Andy Tennant, written by C.J. Cox. It stars Reese Witherspoon, Josh Lucas, and Patrick Dempsey. The supporting cast includes Fred Ward, Mary Kay Place, Jean Smart, Candice Bergen, Ethan Embry, and Melanie Linsky. It was released in the U.S. on September 27th, 2002. It received a mixed critical reception, which, wow, okay, but was a success at the box office. And that's from Wikipedia.
So we're celebrating its 21st anniversary.
As we'd like to do.
Classic, pop this.
Yeah.
Yeah. We like to be the only ones, celebrating an anniversary.
Honestly, the fact that like it didn't have there wasn't a ton of articles last year about like, this is the 20th anniversary of Sweet Home Alabama. Like no one's actually rooting for this thing except Josh Lucas wants a sequel, but doesn't think that Reese has time for it.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Did you know he's on Yellowstone now, and as part of his press stuff for like last year, or I don't know, maybe it was last year or the year before, I can't remember. But yeah, he's talking about how he would totally sign up for a Sweet Home Alabama sequel.
What would happen in a sequel?
Yeah.
I would assume they've actually had a divorce. They have had a terrible custody arrangement with their child. They've screwed up beyond all measure, and she has like gone down as the worst designer in the history of all mankind. And his sea glass, fractures on impact, and he's cut a bunch of people. And then they come together in the like wreckage of their lives and find love again.
The only way I could see this working as a still sweet Alabama or whatever they want to call it I'll just pitch it, is that accidentally somehow she did marry Patrick Dempsey. that brief time at the altar actually was binding, and now she has to go and get a divorce from him, or does she?
Oh, that would be funny.
No, I have no time for that.
I know. I'm just look. It's a better idea than mine was. That's all I got to say. AG, do you want to do the synopsis?
Sure. New York fashion designer Melanie suddenly finds herself engaged to the city's most eligible bachelor. But Melanie's past holds many secrets, including Jake, the redneck husband she married in high school, who refuses to divorce her. Bound and determined to end their relationship once and for all, Melanie sneaks back home to Alabama to confront her past, only to discover that you can take the girl out of the South, but you can't take the South out of the girl. And that's from Rotten Tomatoes.
Which means what? The South makes you a lying sack of crap? I mean, that seems like an awful way to say that.
It's certainly a position to take as a film.
Yeah.
And one of the executive producers is from that area, apparently, and made the writer go spend time there so that it could feel more authentic. And apparently that producer felt that this was an authentic snapshot of the South circa 2002.
Well, there were some, the small town stuff and the community aspects of it were really quite sweet. I mean, I have to say that, but the other stuff was
Yeah, and I think, I guess that's my question, having seen this, in the early 2000s sometime and thinking it was just, a harmless, another Reese Witherspoon rom-com. It's this sort of kind of culture divide has become so much more extreme over the last 21 years that we kind of are noticing all these things more, and it doesn't seem harmless at all.
Whereas plantation houses, Confederate pillows, racism, and homophobia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
just to name a few things.
Ryan Reynolds, got married on a plantation. I don't know what year it was, but then has subsequently they apologized for doing that because they realized, what a plantation was, I guess. Yeah. And so I just think that the ensuing last 20 years have been just in terms of those kinds of things, really revolutionary in terms of how you view stories like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that, this is one of those movies that does not age well at all.
No.
Yeah.
So I had never seen it, and I was genuinely surprised that she was already married. I did not know that was a plot point. Yeah, I did not know that was a plot point in the film. So I was like, okay, cool. That sounds fun. And then the moment she arrives and she comes in real hot, not even a hello, hasn't been back allegedly in 8 years or 7 years or whatever it is. Which, fine, whatever. I was just oh, so they really think, the scriptwriters really think that they're doing something kind of screwball and sort of 40s-ish with the dialogue here, and having it be fight immediately, and that it's somehow charming. And it's just not. It's just kind of ugly and horrible, and you don't understand at all. You don't even see that there could potentially be any feeling. It's as if they thought if we have them yelling loud enough, that will pass for passion.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I do think this movie was the success of this movie was the blueprint for every subsequent Netflix or what are those romances called that they produce for TV, those made for TV movies and stuff, where the girl travels back to her hometown.
The Hallmark movies, you mean?
The Hallmark movies, where she travels back to her hometown and falls in love with her high school sweetheart or whatever. It's just this, I think, was made that type of story so popular, and we see it all the time even today.
I think it was a trope before this movie, but certainly I do agree that it contributed to that for sure. But like, for instance, the critics meter on Rotten Tomatoes for this film is so wild. 38% from critics, but the audience score is 78%.
Yeah.
People really flipped their lids over this film.
I think it's the line that everyone always remembers, which is, they're here, look at you, in a bar with a baby. Like,
yeah, it's such a mean line.
Yeah,
but yes.
and everybody remembers that, and they're like, "Oh, it's one of these cute things are different in the South." Yeah, they pretend to be Confederate soldiers. Gee, that was a twist.
What I found interesting though is that like I didn't particularly find the New York folks to be like I found them to be cynical and mean, and like I didn't like that at all. Like I didn't like Andrew or Patrick Dempsey and Candice Bergen's characters at all. Like I just felt
they're terrible too.
Yeah, they were terrible people too.
Except for Patrick Dempsey was doing everything right. He gets there, gets upset.
I guess so, but
and then he's like, okay, I guess I can support whatever you need.
I guess so, but what I saw in watching this movie this time is that he's just trying to piss off his mom. Like he doesn't really want to get married to Reese Witherspoon.
Yeah.
So actually, one of the things I complained about the loudest within the first 5 minutes of this film is how mad I was. So like before I had seen the clothing that she had designed, I was led to believe that this was going to revolutionize the walkway. Fine. Or runway or whatever. Anyway. And so I was so mad that he was turning her huge day into like, which was a huge professional and creative moment for her. Not only did she have to do that, she already had to go to an event at night because he wanted to rub her in his mom's face.
Right. Yes.
But 2, he then proposed to her on her big day, like making like, and I understand for some people a proposal is a thing for 2 people, but like I thought it was so much more about him than it was about her in any way, shape, or form.
That's true.
They'd only been together for 8 months, and I was so mad, and I kept being like, how dare this movie start out in this way where this woman is achieving something like truly tremendous at a very young age, and like it's supposed to take a backseat ultimately to this breakfast at Tiffany's fantasy just so he can aggravate his mom. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
I was so mad.
That's a good point.
Like that's what I was like the whole time. It just seems like, like he is just being a huge brat, basically, and wants to anger his mother and like create.
I mean, to be clear, his mom's a trash bag. Like his mom, like I love Candice Bergen, but that character is like horrible.
Yes,
and all she is worried about is her electability and what like the marriage is going to do in terms of her popularity with her voters. So
fun political political humor though.
Bad
with
people
him saying,
all around.
Yeah, you just don't like poor people. She said, "No, of course I don't. No, I love them. They vote for me." That was a bit of a
that made me that was a good like little satirical point.
Yeah.
I also really I can't help it, but I really loved that her nickname was Felony Melanie. I was like, that's honestly fantastic. Although
she burnt a cat.
Concerning story about tying a firecracker to a cat and then seemingly maiming a black security guard at a bank by accident, and that's her funny background story. What is wrong with the writers of this movie? Like, oh my God.
Really, really laid it on thick.
But also the other strange thing that doesn't like totally stands out is that their stylists couldn't make her fashions look convincing in any way, shape, or form.
The fashion is so brutal.
Oh, it is.
I was thinking you two must be dying. I was dying, but like you two, like, oh my God, you must have been rolling over.
Yeah, it's just so crazy that so little effort was paid in making her fashion line seem anything more than like what you could buy at like like the grocery store.
Well, I do wonder if Jacqueline Smith was offended because it did.
I don't know.
Up.
I think if you sell your clothes on QFC or QVC or whatever the 24-hour shopping lines are, you're just grateful for the mention.
Well, no, I'm sure she was, but it was a pretty funny line. No,
oh my God, it was great.
I agree. Like the fashion was not there. It did not.
It was unbelievable that all those like, you know, fashionistas from New York would be like swooning over her.
Oh my God.
And just wanting her to succeed so badly and calling her a protege and all of that. That did not make any sense whatsoever.
It did. There were so many things that, like, I felt, you know, when you're watching a movie and you feel like the movie has been done, but then they decided that they needed to go back and film another scene because it didn't make sense. I felt like that scene between Reese Witherspoon and her mom, Mary Kay Place, where they're standing out by the car and the mother's saying, I just wanted you to get out, made no sense at all, considering how excited she was to see her come home. And how thrilled she was. And then all of a sudden, there's this weird tacked on scene where she's saying, I just wanted you to get out of here and not have anything to do with this town. But meanwhile, we've seen no reason why at all that she should want to escape this town.
Yeah, I feel like it's the kind of movie where like there's a real disconnect between the original intention of the film and where it ended up in the editing. Like it's got... I think somehow there is like a story, like a feminist undercurrent to the original sort of maybe script, wherein this mom had her daughter doing all of these beauty pageants. Her daughter is rebelling by like getting into all kinds of legal trouble all the time. And then she ends up, you know, just getting pregnant and getting married anyways. Her mom's kind of maybe brokenhearted. And then everything falls apart in a spectacular way and she leaves. And it's like we don't get enough of that trajectory to make it make sense. And we also don't understand why her mom wouldn't go and ever take free tickets to see her in New York. Because like that's her dream come true.
And they keep saying it's our only daughter. Does it mean they have other kids, like sons?
Great question. A brood of brothers that they've just buried in the backyard, I would not be surprised by this movie.
Yeah, because they keep saying it's our only daughter. It's our only daughter. Yeah. And I'm like, well, only daughter? It seems like your only child.
Yeah.
But, and they seem very happy as a couple. So it's very confusing as to why they don't want to travel. She hasn't come home. Like the whole thing makes really no sense.
Yeah, and like why she took the last name Carmichael out of like I don't. It's explained that there's her friend whose last name is Carmichael.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. They never really make a connection as to like why she decided to use his last name for her fashion line name, and if he knows about it and is okay with it.
Doesn't seem to.
They must have been following. They do have the internet, so they are able to follow things.
And he specifically says, like again, alluding to his sort of closeted status, that he is seeing her in these magazines and stuff, and like that's what he's reading. So he knows, I think, what she's sort of positioned herself as. But like it all sort of seems to still come as a surprise.
Yeah, I know.
When she comes back home and
then doesn't she ask him if he's dating any women?
Yeah, like even though she knows.
Even though she knows apparently.
And weirdly enough, so this is going to be like maybe the weirdest thing I've said so far, but I thought that there was actually like a real tangible amount of chemistry between Reese Witherspoon and Ethan Embry in like the first second when he gets out of the car.
Yeah.
And I was like, I turned to Carlos who was watching with me and I was like, is he another ex-husband? And he was like, no, I'm pretty sure it's coded that he's gay and she knows. And I was like, oh. Okay. I honestly, I mistook their actual chemistry for a hidden story in the movie.
Interesting.
I know Carlos was right, obviously, but I I really wished at that moment that Ethan Embry had a chance to play Josh Lucas's character and Josh Lucas had played Ethan Embry's character.
Wow.
Because that would have been, honestly, a much better film.
Wow. What were you watching? I didn't even think about something like that.
I hadn't seen it before, so I don't have any past attachments. I was walking in free and clear, I think was honestly a real benefit to my viewing experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. Now that I've seen it, I'm just looking at Josh Lucas's Wikipedia page, and his birthday is the 20th.
Oh, wow. Well, happy belated, Josh Lucas. I hope you never get a Sweet Home Alabama 2.
And I hope you don't listen to this.
I was mad that I cried in the dog cemetery scene. I was really mad that they managed to make that happen, and I felt manipulated. The dog cemetery is real, by the way, and
That's incredible.
yeah, and apparently it's supposed to double as her talking to her dead fetus, but I did not get that at all.
No.
Yeah,
me
apparently
either.
it's supposed to double as that.
I was too mad about her not coming back to say goodbye to her dog.
Yeah.
When he was dying.
That was a real lot of tough stuff in this film. But there so a couple fun things that I just really wanted to point out. According to the director's commentary for this film, which the director did a commentary for this film, before they released the movie, the studio screened it for focus groups, and several male audience members wondered why Patrick Dempsey didn't get the girl because, quote, he didn't do anything wrong. According to Tennant, guys were more upset by it than women.
Oh, fascinating. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Incredible. Like if a man doesn't do anything wrong, he deserves the woman no matter what.
Yeah.
And you know what? I honestly think there should have been, again, if we can just rewrite sort of the history of this film, I feel she could have quite easily ended up in a throuple. They were both accommodating men.
Yeah.
And, at least that would have been less boring than what resulted.
But it also, I think, if we were to dig a little bit deeper, we might find that the men were particularly miffed by the fact that she seemed to make a quick turn toward her ex when she found out he was doing well financially.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that. Intriguing.
But also, in my mind, I am not sure what happened after the end of this movie. Because the thing, as it stands, she still has a fashion line and a business back in New York City. He just opened, his brand new business in Alabama.
Yeah.
Just are they still married? And
they've got a
Did you
kid.
watch
On the credits, they've got a kid, and they're walking around.
I guess I didn't watch.
Oh, sorry. So in the credits, they are in New York, I think, and they've got a kid who's 4, maybe.
Yeah.
And they seem to be based in New York.
I've never seen that, I guess.
Yeah.
Part of the movie.
They seem to be based in New York.
Okay,
But
there you go.
maybe
he
they
gave up his brand new.
I don't know. I feel like his business could have stores in Alabama and New York, and that they are now just they move between the two places.
Yeah, that's what I got a sense too. Yeah.
Okay.
That's why we do not need a sequel.
No, but you know what we do end up probably having to deal with in future wedding months? More of this director's films, because it turns out he has made other movies that have pretty significant sort of wedding components that we've never done, as far as I know. So Hitch, he made Hitch.
Okay, I've seen Hitch.
And he also, I think we maybe did Ever After, A Cinderella Story at some point, but I can't remember. But he's the writer and director of that.
I don't think we have.
Okay, well, great, because I loved Ever After when I was younger. Also, Melanie Linsky's in that too.
That's how she became friends with Drew Barrymore, right?
Drew Barrymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this year marks its 25th anniversary. Just want to put that out there. I know wedding month is over, but anyway. And I think a couple of these other films that I've got in here have wedding components to them, but I haven't gone through everything completely.
Like The Bounty Hunter.
It's funny. I just clicked on the Bounty Hunter, and it seems to be a theme in this man's
Oeuvre?
oeuvre is this. The film was panned by critics, but was a box office success. That seems to be the theme.
Yeah, Tenet makes movies that are crowd pleasers and occasionally makes a movie that also scores very well with critics. Like, honestly, Ever After is great from what I remember. Now, that said, 25 years later, is it? I don't know. But I remember loving it when I was younger.
Wow. Okay, well, I don't mind seeing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen any of his other movies, actually.
Honestly, that's probably good. I don't know that I've seen a ton of them, but I've heard of Fools Rush In. I've heard of It Takes Two.
Fool's Gold. It seems like from a quick scan of these movies, it's like kind of based around a combative coupling.
Yeah, yeah. Anna and the King, I remember seeing when it came out, but I think it's uneven. Also, he wrote and directed The Secret, Dare to Dream, like based on the book, The Secret.
A wild career.
Yeah, truly extraordinary. I will also just acknowledge very late in the podcast, if you've noticed that I sound weird, it's because I'm sick. So I've really held it together, though.
You got the the summer flu or cold going on.
You know, I gotta say, the 2 times that I have traveled in the last few years have both been in the last couple of months. And no, that's not true. I did a bit of traveling during more real deep in the pandemic. In this stage of the pandemic, I've traveled twice in the last few months. And each time I've come home and within a couple of days have ended up with like a week-long cold virus thing. It hasn't been COVID either time. I've taken lots of tests. But apparently my immune system just gets real excited by travel.
Oh.
And when I get home, I get sick.
Yeah, that's no fun.
Yeah.
But it always seems kind of wrong to have a cold in the summer.
It does.
Well, thankfully, we're 3 days away from the official start of summer. So I've got 3 days to kick this behind me and then not get sick all summer.
Yay. Here's to goals.
Here's to goals. And honestly, here's to never hopefully thinking about this film again. Does it pop?
No.
No, I mean,
not for me.
No
say
pops,
like
no.
kind of asterisk, surprisingly 0 pops. Like,
yeah.
And you know, like I would have thought at least it would be kind of like a weak pop or a medium pop. If like going into it, it would have just been like, oh, it's just a predictable rom-com, but Reese Witherspoon is charming. But like, yeah, no, this is actually quite terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's no Geely, but it's right above it.
Yeah. Yeah, I would go with that review. 100%. Yeah.
It's no Julie, but right above it. I'm going to
Yeah.
write that down.
Yeah.
We do love to leave our episodes on something we recommend. And you know what? I never go first, so I'm going to jump in here.
Mm-hmm.
I am reading a collection of short fiction that I actually had to take a break from because I couldn't read it before bed because it was giving me a bit of a nightmare. And it's so good. And it's called Lesser Known Monsters of the 21st Century by Kim Fu. And 12, I'm just going to read you a little bit from this. It's 12 unforgettable tales of the lesser-known monsters of the 21st century. The strange is made familiar and the familiar strange, such that a girl growing wings on her legs feels like an ordinary rite of passage. while a bug-infested house becomes an impossible Kafkaesque nightmare. That's the one that's giving me trouble right now. Each story builds a new world all its own. A group of children steal a haunted doll. A runaway bride encounters a sea monster. A vendor sells toy boxes that seemingly control the passage of time. An insomniac is seduced by the Sandman. These visions of modern life wrestle with themes of death and technological consequence, guilt and sexuality, and unmask the contradictions that exist within all of us.
Oh, that sounds really good.
It's really good. Kim Fu is a writer based in the Pacific Northwest, and I just highly recommend their work. And this is a really great book. I'm listening to it through Audible, and I really love all the narrators as well, which is nice. Not always the experience, but it's great.
Thumbs up.
That sounds awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yay. AG, what about you?
So I'm just going with, it's summer. Everybody needs something dumb and funny to watch. I've started watching this TV series called Platonic, starring Seth Rogen and Rose Byrne.
Oh, I watched the first episode of that too. Yeah.
And it's funny.
Yeah,
and it's just easy to watch. And Rose Byrne I think she's like a secret comedic genius, from the movies
She's
I
really
see her. And
smart,
she plays the straight person so well, but in such a funny way. And she and Seth Rogen play these middle-aged people who were best friends in college. And then he got married to someone that she didn't really like. And so they kind of drifted apart for the last, 20 years or so. And then they decide to kind of reconnect because he's getting a divorce. But in a platonic way, they become platonic friends again. And it's just so funny because their lives are in, different places right now. She's got kids. He always stayed sort of childless and kind of in perpetual youth kind of mode. And it's just it's a very funny and easy thing to watch right now.
That's awesome. Thank you. Lisa, what about you?
So the sixth season of Black Mirror just came out on Netflix this past weekend, and I watched the first episode called Joan is Awful, starring Annie Murphy, and oh my gosh, it was so much fun and so great and so smart. I mean, Black Mirror episodes are. So, twist your melon stuff, but in the end, a real satisfied feel to see something so weird and so enjoyable. And I don't want to say anything about the story because the fun of Black Mirrors are the twists and turns that you aren't expecting. So highly recommend Joan is Awful. So much fun.
That's great. Thank you. I will look into both of those. I've watched neither. I've never watched any Black Mirror. So I have
none of it?
So much catching up to do, I know.
Oh, I think I've watched all 5 seasons of it, so I was really excited to see the 6th one. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for listening. Thank you for hanging out with us online, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You could rate and review us 5 stars on iTunes. Oh, also shout out to the excellent person who, I'm so sorry, my brain is sort of cold addled.
Adam
sent us a really lovely email about how to deal with breaking in Doc Martens and blisters and breaking in shoes. Apparently the answer is
Dr. Scholl's moleskin.
Oh yeah, there you go. So this is,
I'm glad
Adam,
Lisa
thanks.
has noted this.
Oh, I have. I'm very excited, very happy to read that because that was very helpful. Yeah. I'm still having issues. Still committed to be sent. Oh, well, it depends on how far I walk. Sometimes, I'm just, just fly too close to the sun. I make it for a little while and then all of a sudden
Oh, no.
it just gives up on me and the Band-Aids have slipped. So I'm really very excited about this new project. I'm going to go and get some of this Toot to Sweet.
Awesome. That's great. And
I mean, for
so
anyone
nice
who is new
listeners.
to this, new to this story, a few episodes ago, Lisa was talking about her poor feet that had been destroyed by a pair of new sandals.
Yeah, my Doc Marten sandals and Doc Martens in general have ruined many a foot.
Oh, for sure. And yet we love them and we carry on wearing them. And Adam has come in with some great rescue remedy options. So thank you, Adam. And, we just love hearing from any listeners. So you can email us always at popthiscollective@gmail.com.
Yeah.
And you have any cold remedies? AW. We'd love to hear them.
Rhubarb recipes, we'll take all of it. Yeah. And, big thank you to Andrea Gin, our co-host here and producer, and to the little bit of voice that Andrea Warner still has left. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.